My nearly adult female dad died 6 years ago. My mom dated for a while, but it was nothing serious until she met Dan. Dan's a single dad with 2 kids, a preschooler and a young grammar schooler, and after dating for almost 2 years, they moved in together 3 months ago. I was cool with it until 2 incidents happened in a week. The first one was coming home to the kids in my room, which was trashed. I'd made my bed before school and they'd pulled it apart. My clothes were all over the floor. The young one had urinated on himself and the evidence was left visible on my pile of clothes. My mom had taken the kids out of the room and cleaned them up, but left my room as it was for me to clean up. I was angry. Dad explained it away as they're just young kids and told me not to be mad. I told him to watch his kids and keep them out of my room. Mom told me not to be mad at anyone and these things happen. I said not if they keep an eye on the kids. I asked if I should go in and do the same to their room. Dad told me I'm old enough to know better. I told him to make his kids clean it and Mom and Dad quickly said they were too young to do that. The same thing happened a week later, only without the younger one urinating himself. This time they wrecked the photo of my dad and me that was in my room and they broke the office chair I had in there. This time I lost it on my mom and told her that I was getting the heck out of there and she could keep Dan and his little brats to herself because I wasn't dealing with it. Mom told me not to be rash and said I needed to calm down. Dan stood in front of the door to stop me from leaving. He said my mom's heart would break if I left. I told him I wasn't living with him and his kids. I went to stay with my grandparents, and my mom expected me to stay at most for a week or 2 and then come home or whatever. But I see this as home now. Not having my room trashed or the bathroom all messy and gross from Dan's kids has been so good, and I'm so mad about that photo. I had a copy, but it wasn't the point. My mom's only now starting to accept I'm not coming back. She apologized a few times, but I ignored her. She called the other day and cried. She told me she missed me and wanted me to come home and that she'd do anything. I hung up before she could finish, but it didn't convince me to move back in, which sent Dan off on a rant at me over voicemail about how selfish I'm being and how I'm hurting my mom. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, obviously. Are you saying Dan's children urinated in your room and trashed your room twice, and Dan wasn't the one to clean up the mess his children made, and your mother and Dan both watched you clean up their mess yourself? No repercussions for these 2 children? Dan and your mother are both gigantic idiots and deserve each other. May Dan's little darlings urinate in his and your mother's bed in the future twice a day. Interestingly, your mom said she'd do anything to get you to move back, yet she hasn't thought about removing the source of the problem. She sided with Dan and didn't buy you a lock or do anything to ensure that Dan and his kids stayed out of your room. I think the kids were encouraged and helped by their dad to do all that damage. She sided with him again the second time, and she's only bothering to get upset now that she's realized you aren't returning. You're not the idiot. There's something horribly wrong with Dan and his kids, and if that's what your mum chooses for herself, that's her right, but she doesn't get or need to inflict that on you. Seriously, the kid should be in trouble for going into OP's private space and wrecking it. The lack of basic respect and support from Mom and Dad was unbelievable. OP did what they had to do to protect their peace, and thank God they had somewhere else to turn. No one should be made to feel like a stranger in their own home. It sounds like Dan allowed his kids to trash your room so you would leave and he would have his perfect family. When you left, he didn't think that your mom would react like this, and now he has to deal with a sad, remorseful woman who wants her daughter back. You must protect yourself. Stay with your grandparents and keep your distance from Dan and his kids. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend stole a plant from a store. She told me afterward, knowing I wouldn't like it. She said she felt bad and wanted a reality check, maybe even a lecture. I explained that stealing goes against my core values. I told her that theft is only morally justifiable in actual life or death situations when no other options exist. She could afford the plant, didn't need it, and still stole it. She said it didn't hurt anyone and that she was sticking it to a corporation. I told her if she has a problem with the corporation, she shouldn't shop there. Stealing from them doesn't make her a hero. Justifying theft like that shows a mindset that she's above the rules everyone else follows. I told her plainly that I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who steals, and if it happens again, I'll end things. At the time, it seemed like she understood and accepted that boundary. We moved on. Fast forward to last night. We were drinking with her roommate and got into a deeper conversation about relationships and boundaries. Her roommate brought up her ex, who used to make promises just to keep her happy with no intention of following through. Classic manipulative behavior. That led to a conversation between my girlfriend and me about hard boundaries. I brought up mine, that I can't be with someone who steals. She started repeating the same justifications for the plant theft, that it didn't hurt anyone, that it was anti-capitalist, etc. Then she said she still doesn't agree with my boundary, but she'll respect it. She also called me a capitalist and says she doesn't like that about me. At that point, I realised the conversation wasn't going anywhere good. We were both tipsy and I didn't want to escalate into an argument. I calmly said I was going to head home, that I'd call her in the morning so we could talk when sober, and left. She texted me afterwards saying she felt abandoned and didn't like what I did. I texted back explaining my perspective, that it felt like she pretended to agree with my values just to keep the peace, and that this felt manipulative, especially right after we'd discussed how toxic that behaviour is in others. I said I left because I did care about her and wanted to avoid saying something we'd both regret. I asked her to reflect and talk in the morning. She replied saying she felt abandoned and was crying in her bed. I told her I felt manipulated. She then said I was being manipulative and that leaving was a power move. I still want to discuss things, but I feel conflicted. Am I the idiot for setting that boundary and walking away from a heated conversation instead of arguing? Not the idiot. She will not stop stealing. She will just stop telling you about her stealing. Oftentimes, big corporations let petty stealing, like the plant, go, but keep it documented until they have evidence that the person stole enough for it to be a felony charge. There are cameras everywhere in today's world, and it's a matter of time before something bad happens to your, hopefully, soon-to-be ex-girlfriend. Agreed. They are totally morally incompatible. She will keep stealing and keep justifying or just lie and say she didn't steal when she did. Then one day he will get a call from her wanting him to come bail her out of jail. She'll want him to hire her a lawyer. She's a thief and sooner or later she will get caught. He knows about a plant from a store, but he doesn't know whether she would steal from an employer. It isn't worth getting tangled up with a thief. Exactly. If she can rationalize stealing from others, can she rationalize stealing from you? If this relationship works out and you have children, these are the values she will teach them. If you don't have children and something goes missing at a family gathering, can you have faith that it wasn't her? Can you face your family and tell them that? Is it okay with you if she steals when you're present and you get arrested as an accessory? This can and will happen. I, 47 female, have a daughter, 24, named Layla, who just gave birth to her first child. I don't know much, but I know that she and her husband Matt, 27, have been having issues with what to name their child. Matt wants to name their baby a ridiculous name, which I won't specifically name here, but it's a month. And not something like June, May or April, something like October with a middle name that's colour, and once again not something like Violet or Scarlet. Meanwhile, Layla wants a more practical name. Because of all this, they've been in marriage counselling, which hasn't seemed to work. A week ago, Layla gave birth but had to stay hospitalised because of complications. Right after her birth, she was very out of it and wasn't in her right mind. Matt took advantage of this, and when I asked him what they would name their baby, he stated the name he wanted. I knew Layla wouldn't like this and that it was supposed to be a joint decision, so I didn't allow him to sign anything, which resulted in him not being able to sign off as her father legally. When Layla woke up, she thanked me for it, but Matt refused to see their baby. What was supposed to be a beautiful phase in their life has been spoiled by his family bombarding her with texts and calls. Now I'm starting to think I may have gone too far since he hasn't seen his baby in weeks. Am I the idiot? Edit, to be clear, Matt was hours away at the time of Layla's birth. I asked him what they were going to name their baby on call. When I heard his response, I didn't tell him which hospital we were at, so he had no way of coming in and signing anything. I say not the idiot, but even if you were and should have stayed out of it, I don't think Matt is mature or ready to be a parent. Refusing to see the baby because he was thwarted from naming his daughter behind his wife's back. Seriously? Yeah, choosing not to see your newborn baby for weeks is so insane to me. That poor February orange is going to grow up without a father. OP, the bigger problem here is that to ensure that the husband couldn't pull some manipulative crap, the location of the hospital had to be hidden, and you had to step between your vulnerable daughter and this man. And now, as punishment, he's refusing to see his newborn. This is not a mentally healthy man. You are the idiot. Let's pretend there's a good reason your son-in-law didn't know which hospital his wife would be giving birth at. Instead of lying and preventing a father from witnessing the birth of his child, you and your daughter could have spoken with the staff and said that there would be no name on the birth certificate of the child, or that a name would require the consent of both parents. It's so not your place to interfere in their marriage, as long as no one was in danger. They're both adults and now parents. They have to learn to deal with conflict themselves. To be honest, I would have been furious if my mom hadn't protected me in such a vulnerable state. Good mums protect their kids, but that doesn't stop when they become adults. I wonder how he's explaining the situation to his family and what they're saying to your daughter. I'd be quite upset with my son if he refused to see his own daughter just because he didn't get to name her October Ultramarine. Like, boy, be for real and get out of yourself. I, 32 female, have 2 sons with my husband, a baby and a toddler. I obviously love my kids, but I don't really like other kids, especially kids I don't know well. I'm just not the maternal type who will want to interact with other kids or find them cute or whatever. My brother has been dating his girlfriend Natalie, 31, and she has 2 kids as well, a pre-tween male and a female kindergartner. When we first met Natalie, she seemed excited that I had kids and started planning how our kids would bond and play together. This didn't happen, and the main reason is the age difference. Again, I have a toddler and a baby. I don't know how she imagined that her pre-tween would bond so well with a baby or a toddler than him. Her daughter is a different situation. She's very rowdy, so my oldest avoids her at all costs when we meet during family functions or whatever. Despite our kids not blending well, we were nice to Natalie and her kids. Last Christmas, for example, the first Christmas since they got together, we have gifts to her kids when we met at my parents' place for dinner, and I thought that was enough. However, Natalie confronted me on things I did wrong and hurt her feelings. She mentioned, I do not show a special interest in her kids, who will potentially become my niece and nephew. I refuse to have her kids over at my place for playdates without her being present. To be clear, I'm okay with hosting her, my brother and her kids for dinner or something. I refuse to make my son like her daughter. I'm cold towards her kids. I explained to her that I can't and will not force my kid to play or be friends with anyone. I also said that I'm not comfortable having her kids in my house without her present. I don't know her kids that well. I have no idea how they behave outside of the few family settings that we've all attended, and I don't want to be responsible for 2 stranger kids in my house. On the cold side, I explained to her that I'm not cold on purpose, but this is how I am as a person. I'm not a kids fan, I'm not overly maternal, and I don't feel like being overly excited about kids. She said that this isn't true because she saw that I'm everything I claim not to be with my kids. Well, yes, because they're my own children. She also claims that everyone has been excluding her children. When I asked her how, she gave the same examples from above and claimed that my parents are more affectionate towards my kids. Yes, again, because they are their grandkids. In the end, we were not getting anywhere, so I told her, look, Natalie, you started dating my brother 1 year ago. My parents and I had a couple of meetings with you and your kids, and everyone was nice to all of you. I don't know what your problem is, but you need to speak to my brother. No one excludes your kids, but you can't expect us to treat your kids the same way I do. This is never going to happen. My kids are my kids, they don't owe anything to yours, and you're not entitled to anything from us. Please solve this issue with my brother. My brother apologized to her and mentioned to me she sounded like a mad woman focused on the absurd differences she sees when it comes to our kids. He agrees our parents are not doing anything wrong and that I'm not doing anything wrong. He knows me and he's aware that I'm not doing anything on purpose. He said that Natalie had been crying after our discussion, and while he agreed with me, he asked if I could try to be more empathetic toward her feelings. I told him that I was polite to her, but she seemed manipulative, and if she didn't want to hear the truth, she shouldn't start this kind of discussion with me. My brother is lost. He doesn't know how to manage this madness, and I'm honestly confused about whether I did anything wrong when speaking to her. Not the idiot. She was hoping to leave them with you for date nights and weekends away. You just slaughtered that dream and she's not happy. It's not your responsibility to manage and placate the feelings of a grown woman whose expectations do not match reality. It sucks that brother has to deal with the fallout, but that is his choice. He needs to figure out how to shut down her manipulation tactics if he wants to have a relationship with her. She isn't just trying to manipulate OP, she's trying to manipulate OP's brother too. She's acting like it's out of the norm for grandparents to treat grandkids better than their son's girlfriend of 1 year. It's not. She's acting like it's unfair so her boyfriend will speed up the relationship and quickly get married so her kids can become grandkids. 100% I bet she's pushing for marriage soon if she hasn't already. Heck, the damn girlfriend is upset with OP for treating her own kids better than the girlfriend's. Like, does she really think someone is going to treat other people's kids better than their own? I bet you're right. She's hounding him for marriage. OP, you need to read this comment and speak with your brother about this because it sounds like it could manifest in his girlfriend's mind. I, 22 female, recently moved into a studio apartment and have just started to decorate it. I brought a pride flag to hang up on my wall and built a few little wooden shelving units to keep all my political books in one place. Due to this being a studio apartment, I can't really keep things in my room, and I only have one closet that holds my clothing, so there's no room there. I have the shelves in the lounge below my TV as it's the best spot for them. I've had visitors over and had no issues until last night. I had some family over, and at the end of the night my uncle pulled me aside and told me I should put the books away as they could make someone uncomfortable or give them the wrong impression of me. I told him I wouldn't, and he didn't say goodbye when he left. Am I the idiot? Give them the wrong impression of you by showing that you read or display books that reflect exactly who you are? Not the idiot. Let the bigots be uncomfortable. Some people, y'all are such snowflakes, everything offends you, grow a spine. Same people, OMG, put that flag away. Oh no, books. Ew, people are kissing and holding hands. Don't dress like that. OMG, a rainbow, I'm so triggered. Meanwhile, their everything that offends people is actively spewing hatred and supporting violence towards the variety of people with lived experiences different from theirs. It's literally your home. It's inside your home. Inside your home is exactly where all your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions should be displayed. Like seriously, why should you hide things in your home? So his idiot butt isn't offended? I guarantee this uncle doesn't have a bookshelf, nor books to fill one.